Hi all, thanks for joining. I'll just give it a couple of seconds for everyone to filter in and get comfortable. Great. So thanks for joining, everyone. Really good to have you all on this webinar today. By way of introduction, a quick introduction to myself. My name's Gabby. I'm a commercial account executive here at Dotdigital, previously at Fresh Relevance. Back in September, I joined the Dotdigital team following the acquisition of Fresh Relevance, an omni-channel personalization and optimization tool. So for the next 25 to 30 minutes, we're going to cover off a number of things underneath these 9 steps to mastering marketing personalization. So by way of an outline, I'm just going to go over what we're going to cover in today's session. I'm going to start by debunking some of those personalization myths. Then we'll move in to give a quick overview of what mastering personalization really looks like. What does good look like ultimately? Then I'll break it down into 9 steps that you can take towards personalization success, depending on where you are along your personalization journey. These should mark out those steps to success. And then with so much to consider, we'll finish by touching on the best place for you to start for your business, depending on where you're at the moment. So to kick things off, it goes without saying that personalization is incredibly important to marketing, but let's start with some research to back that up. These stats are from McKinsey, a global consultancy firm. 71% of customers expect a personalized experience when interacting with a brand. They get frustrated when they don't receive that experience. So 76% express frustration when they don't receive a personalized experience. I don't know about you, but I really notice these days when I've just had a really, really personal email from a brand, I then jump onto their website and I have that really generic experience. I feel like they haven't really appreciated who I am as a customer and the number of times that I've purchased from them. And then most importantly, for those of you in the e-commerce space, 78% of customers say that they're more likely to make repeat purchases from companies that personalize. So taking all 3 of these into account, it's really important that you don't just personalize because it's the right thing to do, but it also really does have an impact on your bottom line. Now, there's a couple of myths around personalization, and the evidence shows that personalization really is what customers are looking for. And there's a couple of myths that we want to debunk here before we move on. So some of those common myths. The first, more data means better personalization. While having enough data is really important, it's actually high quality data that's going to be most significant. Better personalization relies on accurate, up-to-date information. Otherwise, it can lead to irrelevant targeting or poor user experiences. The second one, it's too time consuming and too costly. Initially, yes, personalization may require some effort and investment, but in the long run, it can really lead to higher conversion rates and customer satisfaction. Modern tools and technologies are there to make that process more accessible and efficient. So utilize those tools and technologies and their support teams to help with that time-consuming and costly nature. The third point, I need a really large tech team or it's only relevant for big businesses. Even small businesses can leverage personalization in their marketing strategies. There are a number of cost-effective and easy-to-use tools designed to meet the needs of businesses of different sizes. The scale of personalization can be really huge. Starting from the basics can actually be really easy and accessible to achieve. And lastly, personalization is just limited to email marketing. Although personalization can be particularly effective in email campaigns in that channel where you communicate with your customers directly, it can also be applied to many other channels such as social media, paid search, website content, and more. The real key to unlocking successful personalization is that cross-channel element, helping to deliver more engaging and relevant customer experiences. And we'll touch more on that shortly. So what does good look like when we think about personalization? What we're about to do is basically paint out a journey that a customer may go on when they visit Fresh Ski is the business that we're basing it on. So we're just going to paint a picture about what that customer journey looks like and surfacing a couple of really good areas about what good personalization looks like for that customer journey. So the customer in question is Sean. Sean has landed on the Fresh Ski website. He's a new visitor. He's never been to Fresh Ski before. At this stage, we don't know too much about Sean, and we don't know much about him as an individual. So personalization can be quite difficult, but we do know some contextual data about him around his location or even the weather where he's browsing. So what we can do here is we can start to pull in some relevant messaging, potentially even pulling in the weather forecast or tailoring product recommendations to this contextual data that we have at this first point, at this first touch point. So Sean's landed on the website. He's done some browsing. We've made him feel like we know him. We then want to drive Sean to purchase. We want to drive that urgency to purchase. So here we can use a countdown timer or even a discount code for that new visitor to encourage that purchase. Pairing these strategies together can make them particularly effective. So Sean's come to the website. He's done a bit of browsing. We're trying to get him to purchase through using those urgency tactics. But in the event that he goes to exit the site or he goes to bounce, we could here utilize popovers that are triggered based on exit and try and keep Sean on that website. The key thing here is to get creative with the content that's included in this popover. So consider using product recommendations to display a wider breadth of the product catalog to Sean at this early stage in his discovery. At this stage, Sean has shown intent across the website. He's browsed several products, several articles, maybe several services, but Sean is still anonymous to us. We don't know who he is. We haven't identified him. So what we can utilize here is that data capture touch point. Now play around with the messaging here to give Sean a valuable but reassuring reason to share his data with you. It's really common for businesses to fall back onto that, let's give 10% away to get your data. But think about how you can maintain some of that profitability and gather that email address without having to give away that margin. The example you see here is making it really easy for Sean to come back to see what he's viewed. So we've captured Sean's email address now. He's part of our database. We can start to market and retarget to him. So now we can think about how we can personalize across other channels. And that typically starts with that subject line personalization. We want to capture Sean's attention in his inbox at the earliest stage, and that all starts with that subject line before he's even opened the email. Name personalization in subject line is, a well-renowned tactic, but everyone's doing it. That's step one. Most have ticked that step off. So the next step is to utilize the behavioral data that we've understood of Sean in those previous sessions, from his browsing and his carting, whatever that behavior is, to power this subject line personalization. So in this case, we knew that Sean was looking at winter jackets. It was cold where he was based. So we're going to bring in that behavioral insight that we know into that subject line. Moving on to think about the contents of the email, making sure that what Sean is seeing is of maximum relevance to him, based on that previous behavior that we know of him. Surfacing products here can be a great way to ensure that that email resonates with Sean, capturing his attention and causing him to click through as a result. Pretty basic recommendations can often be used here to surface, his previously browsed products or, the most browsed products by all customers. But consider utilizing some more intelligent logic here to recommend the most likely eventual purchases based upon what AI and the machine has learned of customers like Sean. Consider further refining these products by applying merchandising filters to show products that are based on Sean's affinities, but also within his average price point. Layering in these refinements and these filters are going to maximize the click-throughs of these emails for Sean, but also for other customers. So Sean's, we've caught his attention. He's clicked through the email, and he's returned back to the website. So here we're then linking up that experience across those multiple channels. We're welcoming Sean back with a hero banner. If we think about another scenario where we've got Laura actually carted some products. So now we're resurfacing the products that Laura had carted. We're reminding her that she's got items in her basket. So what you're seeing here is multiple experiences for individuals, but all powered by one tool and by one use case. So we're approaching that differently for each customer, and we're utilizing consistent content throughout the experiences on email and on web. We've got them back to the website. They've purchased from us now. So now we want to drive that loyalty. So how do we then get them when they come back to the website? We then change that popover content based upon their most recent action to entice them to give us some feedback. So this is going to result in that next purchase, but also that kind of that start of that relationship building or continued relationship building between customer and brand. As we saw in that example, it's really rare for someone to buy on their first visit. Sean did several sessions. He engaged with the brand at several touch points before he finally went back to the site and converted. So it's really important to recognize that the customer journey is no longer linear. With the number of channels constantly increasing and attention spans of customers on the decline, gone are the days where shoppers would just click on a marketing acquisition ad, land on your website, put the advertised product in their cart, and then check out. They're looking for something more, or that their attention has gone elsewhere. You might have shoppers who purchase straight away and then continue to engage with your brand on social media and in email. Or the customer might start a journey using their site search, have a little browse, leave, and then a nudge back by a browser banner and email. So it's really important that you're covering all of these touch points consistently, particularly when it comes to the level of personalization across those channels. So now let's take a look at the practical steps that you can take to get there. And this is where we're going to break it down into 9 steps to success. So no matter where you are on your personalization journey, whether you're at step 1, step 8, maybe step 9, make sure that you've got each of these steps covered off to ensure that success in personalization. So number 1, and it's really the bedrock for any successful personalization strategy, and that's having your data in shape. Have the right tech in place to capture and store this data to fuel your marketing. It's really vital that everything is there in the right place before you start. This data may originate from your e-commerce platform, CRM, or marketing platform. Wherever it is, it's really important that it integrates with your marketing or personalization tool so that you have that single source of truth. Now on this slide, there are some of the most common and powerful bits of data that you could be using to power personalization. At the top, we've got a customer's activity or behavior across your website. This starts with what customers have, maybe where customers have come from, what they've been browsing, what categories have they been looking at, price points, what locations are they browsing from, what time of the day do they typically look at, how many sessions have they been doing. There's a real breadth, and depending on you as a business, depending on what product or service you sell, then the behavior and activity that customers will be engaging with each of those areas will be different. So before we even know someone's name, potentially, we can actually gather a whole load of data about that anonymous user that can then be used to tailor personalization strategies accordingly. Over time, you can also get a sense of their preferences. So do they have a particular color, brand, or style? Again, we can pull in kind of contextual data into here. Do they tend to shop at a particular time of the day? Are they parents? Do they work night shifts? What are the different elements there of preference that we can take into account to make that experience really individual for a customer when we get to that next stage? Context as well. And finally, understanding what stage of the buying cycle they are at. So this is a really important one. And thinking back to that Laura versus Sean example, Laura and Sean were in different stages of that buying cycle. Laura slightly further on from Sean, she had carted products. Sean is still in that browsing stage. So the objectives and the aims of what we're trying to get Laura and Sean to do are going to be slightly different. We want Sean to put things into his basket. We want Laura to convert on her basket. So it's really important that we're also understanding that buying stage of customers. Once you've got step 1 in place, We're then going to think about how we can start to action some of this data. And the first touch point that someone is likely to experience is your website. A real common misconception about personalization is that you need someone in your database to be able to do it. And that's really not the case. It can start when someone first lands on your website as an anonymous user, way before you even know their name. And what we call this is the difference between personalization and personification. So personification doesn't require an identified user, since it relies on contextual data such as a shopper's location, time of day, local weather, to customize content and tailor recommendations. Within Dotdigital, we use advanced AI techniques to personify the experience of visitors who have not yet been identified even on the landing page or before they've clicked anything, all powered by our Fresh Relevance product. It works really well with anonymous sessions, and it can work with or without cookies. So we can, if we're not working to cookies, we can do that in-session personification. With cookies, you get that added ability to personify based on that visitor's sessions beyond that. So we're just going to be able to retain that anonymous information. And the next time that that customer comes back to the website, we're going to pick up where we left off, no matter the anonymous status, all without the need to identify someone. So we've got two really good examples here. On the left, we've got a new visitor, and on the right, we've got a returning visitor. Now, the left example, we've got a banner that's serving that new website experience, so the forecast near you. Despite the fact that this is a new visitor who's never come to the website before, we're still making them feel as though we know who they are when we're recognizing them. We've then got best-selling recommendations. So falling back onto some of that crowdsourced or that kind of very high-level best-selling data, but we're making sure that we're also, recognizing that they're a new customer and we're showing them that for that reason. And then we've got that welcome popover, which is encouraging them to drop their email address for us to get 20% off. So that's exclusive to that new visitor. If we compare that to a returning visitor, and this is where we're looking at someone who we know who they are, we've identified them, we can then switch all of this content pretty seamlessly to welcome Anna back. So we're utilizing that name personalization on the website. We've then got new arrivals in snowboards. Anna is a snowboarder. She's previously purchased or she's browsed products in snowboarding. So we're going to make sure that when she comes back to the website, she's seeing that relevant category information and product, as well as imagery. And we've then got that popover, again, utilizing product recommendations in popover. So getting a bit more creative with the content that you're seeing in those popovers, to almost shortcut that journey to that conversion, whether it's that first conversion or if it's a second purchase. The second element to web personalization is the real-time dynamic content. Think of these as tools that can reduce bounce rate or encourage people to take a certain action or reassure people towards conversion. Examples here on the left could be countdown timers. In commerce, this can be a countdown time to the end of a sale or the countdown to a VIP launch or a new product launch. In other industries, you might often be counting down to an event. If it's in recruitment, it could be counting down to when a job board closes, counting down to a webinar, a charity fundraiser, or a school registration deadline, or even a university course application deadline. It can be a real breadth of use cases when we think about countdown timers. Another option could be a coupon code. These can be triggered based on a certain criteria, for example. I touched on not giving away profitability at the beginning. Perhaps we only want to give a countdown timer to people who have actually shown a certain level of intent, those are the ones who really need that discount code, versus someone who, maybe the doorbell's just gone. So we don't necessarily need to give them that coupon code. On the right, we could also harness the power of social proof or ratings and reviews data. Making sure that you're showing this content to the right customers is going to be really important. New customers will need to see this review data. They'll need that reassurance towards their first purchase. Loyal customers may not necessarily need this review data. They're already bought into the brand. They're going to purchase from you over and over again. So how can we use that real estate on the website to show them something different? Number 3, capturing email data. So this is where we then want to identify them. We're going to grow that email database, and we're going to use that website experience to our advantage so that we can optimize the way that we're gathering email addresses to maximize the size of the database. Popovers are the most common tool to capture emails, and many brands have success doing that without using incentives. Of course, incentives are common. But if you want to get your personalization strategy right, the lifetime value of a new customer will pay back an initial discount 100 times over, of course. But like everything here, a personalized approach is always the best, and your popovers can be tailored based on what you know about someone already. We really don't want to be showing, returning customers that 10% off every time if we already know who they are. We want to make sure that we're showing that returning customer something different, taking into account their stage in the journey as well at the same time. So what we're seeing here is a welcome back popover. So in this scenario, we've got a returning anonymous visitor. We don't know who they are yet. They've done multiple anonymous sessions with us, and we're actually able to slightly tailor that journey as we go through on those multiple sessions. So they're not just seeing the same popover every time that they come back. So we're changing that messaging to say welcome back. Or we can take into account things like location. So if we've got customers who are browsing from various locations, and potentially you then want to tailor email journeys to that in a different way, then let's take into account that location point as well. Moving on to personalized email, but most importantly at the point of open. The reason that this is step 4 is because it's highly likely that lots of you will be doing personalization in email to a point, but likely at the point of send. So you've already got some email personalization done. So then the next step is to get that web personalization piece in. And then we want you to revisit that personalization at the point of open. Rather than sending the same batch and blast email to everyone with the same message, dynamic content here is going to be your friend. For example, you might want to know if someone has been interested in your website, and then you might tailor the banner on an email specifically to the category that they've been looking at. These 2 examples here, you've got brands who are selling you've got businesses who are selling multiple brands of products, and we've got the dynamic content in here, dynamically changing depending on who's opening the product, opening the email versus when it's sent. Like on your website, real-time content that is that's the most up to date is going to be really important, and that's equally as important in emails. There's nothing worse than when you've opened an email with an invite to attend a live webinar, for example, that's already happened and you've missed it, or you've opened an email that's promoting a product that's now out of stock. So with open time dynamic content, the email is going to be personalized at the point of open rather than the point of send. So if you're opening that email after a product has sold out, we're going to make sure that we're reverting to a fallback product so that it's going to offer you something else, or perhaps give you the option to join a waiting list. Or with the webinar example, the email will direct you to a similar webinar or potentially to the recording. So we're making sure that when we're personalizing email at the point of open, that customers aren't being dissatisfied or frustrated that they've missed out on things because they've been sent at the point of send. The next step towards personalization is then using your data to intelligently determine when to push out an email to someone based on their actions or preferences. This is all about sending the right email at the right time to increase your chances of conversion. Really common examples of triggered emails are back in stock notifications. If you know that someone has browsed a page, that a product's gone out in stock, or they've added an item to the cart, let them know as soon as it's available. Abandoned cart. Price drop. This can be a super powerful way of either clearing excess stock, but also while offering customers a relevant bargain. And then stepping outside of an e-commerce setting, that final example shows you an abandoned form campaign from a car finance company. Other common examples here outside of that commerce environment might be an abandoned donation for a charity, an abandoned quote or inquiry if you've got a customer who doesn't submit an inquiry form, but we can retarget them, or an event registration abandonment. There's a couple of ways that we can do some creative triggers there. Number 6, developing your email strategy slightly further, thinking about those automated programs. So we've got that welcome program for a charity potentially. This might start as a welcome email from the founder. 3 emails will follow that welcome email with examples of the causes they promote and a countdown timer for their latest campaign, all designed to drive an action over a period of time. If you donate, you might be added to a regular donors program where the call to actions will be slightly stronger. For example, getting you to set up a direct debit. If you don't donate for 3 months, you might fall into a re-engagement campaign. Across all the examples shown on the screen, Dotdigital has produced some in-depth guides with practical tips and best practices that you should definitely check out if you haven't already. You'll be able to find them on the resources page of the Dotdigital website. So now you've got your website elements locked down, you've got your email strategies in place, you'll then need to consider how you join up those experiences. So imagine that you've nailed your email personalization strategy, you're an empathetic retailer, and you email your customer base, giving them the opportunity to opt out of Father's Day emails. Someone takes you up and they opt out, so they no longer receive emails around Father's Day. But the next time they go onto your website, the homepage is blasted with Father's Day messaging. Imagine how that would make them feel. So this is where using one tool that operates your personalization and joins up experiences across websites and email channels is super, super essential. Step number 8, making sure that we're then personalizing across more channels. So we've looked in depth at web and email so far, but the options for personalization are endless, depending on your business strategy. A natural next step beyond email for lots of Dotdigital customers is SMS. The 2 channels really go hand in hand. With open rates of 98%, SMS is a great way to cut through a personalized message to people whose inboxes may be overflowing. It's the channel of action, and it's the ideal place for a personalized message, such as a coupon code. Similarly, consider how you use your mobile app. More online purchases are now made on a mobile than desktop for the first time, and your app will play a key part of that. Moving on to socials, consider your social media strategy. Rather than creating lookalike campaigns or building audiences based on demographic criteria, potentially even guesswork, use a platform like Dotdigital to push out personalized messages to targeted audiences based upon how they've interacted with your campaigns. Listen to how your customers are behaving on certain channels and use that insight to nurture those conversions effectively. Beyond that, the world is your oyster. Using webhooks on Dotdigital, you can push out personalized messages via any other channel, online or even offline, like a highly personalized direct mail campaign, and that's just one additional channel within that world of your oyster. And last but not least, and this applies really to the 8 steps that we've covered so far, but testing and optimization. To deliver the best experience at scale, you should really be testing everything that you can. At the very least, try and do some A/B tests on your emails and your landing pages in particular. Start small and scale out over time. If you're a business that's crossed that A/B testing bridge already and you want to take that next step into testing and optimization, consider utilizing automatic optimization, using AI to consistently monitor the performance of variants against specific goals, such as conversion rate. This automatic optimization that sits within Fresh Relevance will ensure that the best content for maximum ROI is automatically being deployed to your customers, taking that manual nature out of A/B testing. So we covered quite a lot there. And if you're new to personalization, it can be quite overwhelming. Don't panic. So where is it best to start? This chart should give you some food for thought on the right tactic to begin with, depending on your objectives. Each business will be concentrating on something slightly different. You may be looking to acquire a certain number of customers. You may be looking to convert or drive your conversion rate. Potentially you're looking to grow the overall traffic or the size of your database. Or maybe you're really focused on retaining members, retaining customers, getting more people to purchase over and over again, growing that lifetime value. Depending on what your objective is, this chart here will basically be able to map out where you should start across each channel. So if you're acquiring customers, On email, let's use social proof. Let's reassure them with those ratings and reviews. Let's show them trending products. So that's that bestseller piece. If they're browsing, let's keep them on site. If they're a new customer and we're trying to acquire them, let's put some UGC in the cart. Again, pulling on that social proof trigger. Abandonment, let's get that cart abandonment message in place. And then if they're going to buy, we want that second purchase discount, so they come back again, but we're enticing them. And each of those tactics will change depending on the objective. Of course, it would be remiss of me not to end with an overview of how our personalization capabilities at Dotdigital fit into our CXDP platform. So as an all-in-one CXDP or customer experience and data platform, through Dotdigital, you can connect your marketing platform to all your key sources of data, including your e-commerce tool and your CRM system. You can engage with customers across multiple channels, looking at email, SMS, MMS, mobile app push, WhatsApp, social ads and retargeting across Facebook, as well as websites. And then lastly, being able to personalize experiences deeply across multiple channels. So we've touched on several areas where you can increase the level of personalization across multiple touch points, across multiple channels. If you want to hear more about this, please visit our website or respond to the survey that we'll send you along with today's webinar recording. And we'd love to speak with you and talk you through where we could potentially help there with our new personalization tool. Thanks all for listening.